The day my father kicked me out, the skies over Seattle had opened up in a relentless downpour. It wasn't the gentle drizzle of early spring, but a harsh, unforgiving storm, perfectly mirroring his fury as he flung my backpack onto the soaked front porch steps of our Craftsman home. No daughter of mine is going to waste her life as some IT helpdesk grunt, he barked, gripping my letter of resignation from the old law firm where I'd worked as an associate. We're a family of judges and lawyers, he spat, not code monkeys. I watched my battered ThinkPad slide in the puddles, my mind racing back to the nights I'd stayed late, hacking together the security software that I knew could one day change the industry. The prototype was safely stored on a cloud server, but the laptop itself, my lifeline, was ruined. Dad, please, I pleaded, voice trembling. This help desk job at Microsoft is just a foot in the door. I have a real plan. He laughed, harsh and hollow. Plan? Annalie, your plan was a bright future in the courthouse, climbing the ladder, marrying a senator's son, a respectable life. Not this, I said firmly. I don't want to be a trophy wife. I want to create something meaningful. Build my own legacy. My mother lingered in the doorway, biting her lip. Anna, think about the Harris family dinner this Sunday. David still cares for you, even after the engagement was called off. I ended it because I don't want that life, I said, eyes steady. I want to build my own company. My father's face flushed crimson. You're throwing away a Yale law degree to answer phones and fix printer jams? His voice cracked with disbelief. If he'd read my business plan, he'd know the help desk was a strategic move to learn their network inside and out. My true vision was to revolutionize cybersecurity. But he stopped listening the second I said I was quitting the firm. Get out, he said coldly. If you want to destroy everything we've worked for, you're on your own. Don't expect any help from this family while you chase your tech dreams. Richard, my mother whispered. She's still our daughter. No, she isn't, he snapped, turning away. I bent down, grabbed my soaked laptop and the bag of clothes he'd thrown out, and stepped into the storm. 3 years of secret coding, of building my security protocol while pretending to care about contract law, had led me here. Mom. I glanced at her, still standing hesitantly in the kitchen doorway. Are you going to say anything? I asked quietly. She looked away toward the study, where Dad was probably pouring himself a scotch amid the dark mahogany shelves. Maybe. Maybe in a few months, when you realize this was a mistake, she whispered. The door shut softly behind her. But it might as well have slammed. I took one last look at the Craftsman house I'd grown up in, with its stained glass windows and the faded Yale Law alumni bumper sticker on Dad's Volvo. Then I climbed into my battered old Civic and drove away from the life they'd carefully mapped out for me. My apartment was nothing fancy, a converted garage in a gritty Seattle neighborhood, but it had blazing fast internet and enough space for my computers. The help desk job at Microsoft paid barely above minimum wage, but that was irrelevant. I wasn't there for the paycheck. Every day, I answered calls about forgotten passwords, frozen screens, and malfunctioning printers. But while I guided people through basic troubleshooting, I was learning, studying Microsoft's security architecture and, more importantly, spotting its weak points. At night, I coded. The algorithm I'd started during tedious billable hours at my father's firm was growing into something groundbreaking. A dynamic security protocol that could learn, adapt, and predict cyber threats before they struck. Michael Harris called once, about 2 months after I left. Anna, please, he said. This rebellion has gone on too long. Dad says your father will welcome you back at the firm. We can still have the wedding. I hung up and blocked his number. 6 months into what my father called my career disgrace, I had my first breakthrough. During a routine security sweep at Microsoft, my program detected an intrusion attempt that their standard defenses missed, a sophisticated hack targeting customer data that could have cost millions. I quietly reported it through official channels, careful to disguise how I'd actually caught it. 2 days later, I was summoned to meet the head of cybersecurity, Ms. Patel. She peered over her glasses. Explain how you detected this breach. Our systems missed it. I took a breath. This was my moment. Actually, I've been developing a new security protocol. Would you like to see it in action? 3 hours later, I left her office with my first development contract. Not huge, but enough to quit the help desk and focus on refining my algorithm. That night, I emailed my parents, eager to share my first real success. The response came from my mother's email account, but I could practically hear my father's voice echoing behind the words. Tech support to junior programmer, hardly the achievement we expected from a Yale Law graduate. The Harris family asked about you at dinner. David is still single. I closed the email without reading further and turned back to my screens. The next year passed in a caffeine-fueled blur of code and late nights. My security protocol evolved into a sophisticated system that detected threats no other software could catch. Microsoft's initial contract opened doors to others. Google noticed. Apple followed. Even the Department of Defense came knocking. I moved out of my cramped garage apartment into a modest downtown condo, then a larger space, and finally a loft in the heart of Seattle's tech corridor. I hired my first employee, then a team of 5, and eventually 50. Lee Cybersecurity was born, though I kept my real identity hidden behind layers of privacy. Let the world imagine a mysterious genius founder. I had my reasons for staying anonymous. Mom's emails became less frequent, often attached with glossy articles about successful female lawyers or news about David Harris's steady rise in politics. I archived them all, unread. Then came the government contracts, venture capital offers, and acquisition bids. I turned down every offer, determined to maintain control of my company as its valuation soared past the billion-dollar mark. Questions about the elusive founder began swirling in the media. I hired a charismatic CEO, a smooth talker who loved the spotlight, to be the company's public face. Meanwhile, I stayed in my coding cave, refining and perfecting the technology. Anna, my assistant Sarah called one afternoon, poking her head into my office. Forbes is trying to reach you again. They want you for their 30 under 30 feature. I didn't look up. Tell them to speak to David. They specifically want you. They've discovered you're the real founder. The story's running with or without your cooperation. I leaned back, thinking of my father's cold face the day he threw me out, the countless condescending emails, and the disappointed sighs. Okay, I said, but on one condition. 2 weeks later, I sat in my penthouse office, flipping through the advance copy of Forbes Sarah handed me. There it was, my photo on the cover, bold letters proclaiming, Anna Lee, 29-year-old founder of Lee Cybersecurity, youngest self-made female tech billionaire in history. My phone buzzed, Mom's number. I let it ring. If you've been inspired by Anna's journey from doubt to unstoppable success, don't miss what happens next. Hit subscribe and join us as we dive deeper into her incredible story. The Forbes article hit newsstands on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday, my father's law firm had lost 3 major corporate clients to firms with stronger cybersecurity. By Thursday, 5 more had pulled their business. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Mom called 37 times. Dad, 18. Even David Harris had tried reaching me through LinkedIn, probably after his father's firm also lost clients due to outdated security. Your parents are in the lobby, Sarah announced Friday morning. Your father threatened the security team with legal action. And, I asked, looking out at the Seattle skyline from my penthouse. 3 buildings proudly displayed our company's logo. They brought Mr. Harris with them. Both senior and junior, Sarah added hesitantly. Of course, they weren't here as family. They were here as lawyers who just lost millions in billable hours because their cybersecurity was obsolete. Send them up, I said, smoothing my designer blazer. But first, activate Protocol Rose. Protocol Rose was my favorite, named after my grandmother who had quietly funded my first computer. As the elevator carried my family and the Harrises up 30 floors, every screen in my office flickered to life, streaming real-time data on security breaches our system had prevented at law firms nationwide. The elevator doors slid open. Dad stormed in first, waving the Forbes magazine like a weapon. Mom followed, dabbing her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. David and his son trailed behind, looking uncomfortable. "How dare you?" Dad thundered. "How dare you embarrass this family?" I raised an eyebrow. Embarrass? By building $1 billion company? By revolutionizing cybersecurity? Please, elaborate. Mom burst out. "You lied to us. All those years pretending to be just a tech support worker." "I never lied," I said calmly. "You just never asked. Too busy forwarding me articles about female lawyers and David's career to notice what I was building." David stepped forward, flashing his old charming smile. "Anna, baby, let's be reasonable. Maybe we can work something out." "A merger of interests," I said, gesturing to the screens. "That's why you're here, isn't it? Your firms are losing clients because your security's outdated." "Now, see here," Judge Harris began. "Chin Cybersecurity has a strict policy on client acquisition," I interrupted. "All firms must pass our standard security audit, no exceptions." I smiled coldly. "Even for family." "We're not just any potential clients," Dad snapped. "We're your family. You owe us." "I owe you?" I stood up slowly, meeting his gaze. "Let's talk about what I owe you, Dad. Should we start with the day you threw me out? Or maybe when you told the entire country club I was having a mental breakdown? Or when you tried to have me declared incompetent to keep me from accessing my trust fund?" His face flushed. "That was for your own good. You were trying to save me from throwing away a real career for this." I pressed a button on my desk. The screens shifted to display Lee's Cybersecurity's current stock price and market valuation. "This, you mean my company? Worth more than every law firm in this city combined. The security system protecting 80% of Fortune 500 companies? The technology that just won a $2 billion government contract?" Mom sank into a chair, still clutching her monogrammed handkerchief. "But why didn't you tell us? Were you really our daughter?" I smiled bitterly, because I distinctly remember Dad saying I wasn't his daughter anymore, that no daughter of his would waste her life in tech support. "That was 3 years ago," Mom pleaded. "We were worried about you." "No," I said firmly. "You were worried about appearances, about what the country club would say about my canceled engagement to David Harris's son. Not about me." David tried again. "Anna, maybe we can put all this behind us, over dinner." I pressed another button. A contract appeared on the main screen. "This is our standard security audit agreement. If your firms want to work with us, you'll need to sign it. The fee is $50,000 per audit, non-negotiable." $50,000? Judge Harris sputtered. "That's outrageous." "Actually, it's a bargain. Ask the clients you're losing." I sat back down. "Sarah will email you the paperwork. Standard processing time is 6 to 8 weeks. Dad's face turned purple again. "We're losing clients now. Should have thought about that before dismissing cybersecurity as beneath your dignity. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a board meeting." "Anna Lee," Mom said, standing and trying her stern voice, "we're not finished here." "Actually, we are." I nodded to the security team waiting by the elevator. "These gentlemen will show you out. Dad, that parking spot at your firm with the Chin and Associates permit, you might want to update it. The name's worth more in tech than it ever was in law." After they left, Sarah brought me a coffee. "Your mother left this." She handed me an old photo. Mom pulled out the photo, but hesitated, as if she didn't have the courage to give it to me. It was a picture of me at 12 sitting at my very first computer, a bulky desktop Grandma Rose had gifted me. Dad had hated it, said computers would rot my brain, but Grandma had seen something else. "Keep going, Anna," she'd whispered, slipping me books on coding when no one was watching. "Some people build empires with laws," she said. "You'll build yours with bytes." I propped the photo on my desk, next to the Forbes magazine. From one, my 12-year-old self grinned with coding dreams. From the other, my present self stared back. A tech billionaire with a company worth billions. The next few weeks were filled with attempts at reconciliation. Mom's daily emails shifted from guilt to bargaining, then outright bribery. Dad's law firm formally applied for our security audit and paid the full fee without complaint. David Harris sent an expensive peace offering, a sports car I promptly donated to charity. I focused on work, tuning out the family drama. We launched a new security protocol, expanded into artificial intelligence, and acquired 2 promising startups. My net worth doubled, then tripled. Then came the day I'd secretly dreaded, the first birthday since Grandma Rose passed away. I visited her grave, laying fresh roses and placing a copy of the Forbes article on the stone. "You were right, Grandma," I whispered. "I built something bigger than they ever imagined. You'd be so proud." I turned and found Mom standing there, looking older, more uncertain than I'd ever seen her. "The roses were my idea," she said softly. "That first computer." "But I was against it," she added. "But Grandma insisted, said you had a spark she recognized." "Why are you here, Mom?" I asked. "Because I was wrong. We were all wrong." She pulled out another old photo, Amy and Grandma Rose, working on that first computer together. "She left this for you in her will, along with a letter," Mom said. "I was supposed to give it to you when you succeeded, but I kept it, thinking you never would. Not in computers." The letter was in Grandma's familiar handwriting. "My dearest Anna, if you're reading this, you've proven them all wrong. I knew you would. Some see machines when they look at computers. You saw possibilities. Your father builds his empire on precedent and procedure. You'll build yours on innovation and imagination. Different tools, same determination. I'm leaving you my entire estate, not much compared to what you'll build, but enough to help you start. Your parents don't understand," Grandma Rose's letter read. "True success isn't about following tradition. It's about creating new ones. Prove them wrong, my brilliant girl." Then she added, "Prove them right about one thing, that you're still their daughter, even if you chose a different path. Love, Grandma Rose." I looked at Mom, seeing for the first time the regret behind her carefully maintained facade. "I have a board meeting in an hour," I said, folding the letter carefully. "But maybe we could have coffee next week? Just us." Her eyes glistened with tears. "I'd like that." It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe it was a start. That evening, I added 2 new items to my office wall. Grandma's letter and that old photo of me at my first computer. Between them, I hung a framed snippet of code, the first version of the security protocol that started it all. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Your father's firm passed the security audit. Shall I process their client agreement?" I glanced at the photo of 12-year-old me dreaming big, then at the Forbes cover showing what those dreams had become, and at Grandma's letter, the first to believe in me. I texted back, "They have to update that parking permit first. Chin Security Solutions has a nice ring to it." Sometimes success isn't just proving them wrong. Sometimes it's proving yourself right. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's finding a way back home, even if you have to build a billion-dollar road to get there. If Anna's journey has inspired you to trust your own path and defy expectations, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment to cheer me on or share your own story of breaking free. Remember, believe in yourself, embrace change, and build your own road to success.